All right, welcome back. Okay, so we're going to be going through the first of three different outlines that I have manipulated, let's say, to be for sweet purposes. So the first one is Billy Mernit's Writing the Romantic Comedy. And as you can see, there is a link to the ebook that goes along with this outline. First, I'm going to use The Wedding Singer as an example. This is a movie that does have elements of what readers may consider cheating, but the main storyline still works as a sweet romance. So, first we have beat one. We have a setup, the hook of the main plot. A scene or sequence identifying the exterior or interior conflict, i.e., the unfulfilled desire or what the person wants. The what is wrong with this picture is implied in the protagonist and or antagonist's current status quo. Okay? So in the movie, Robbie's a wedding singer. Julia's a new server at the catering event hall. She's engaged, but she doesn't think that the man will ever marry her. He says that she can ask him for recommendations on places to get photography, cake, etc. And by he, I mean Robbie. And I'm going to fix that real quick, like while we're in here. Robbie can ask him for recommendations. So we're kind of creating a little bond there in the movie. In beat two, we have the meeting, the inciting incident. This is the inciting incident that brings the man and the woman together and into conflict. An inventive but credible contrivance, often amusing, which in some ways sets the tone for the action to come. So in the movie, it's Robbie's wedding day, but his bride to be, Linda, never shows. When Linda shows at the house afterwards, when everybody is gone, they've all gone home, she says that he's not what she needs now, that she's in love with the man he used to be, a lead singer of a rock and roll band, not just a wedding singer, and it hurts him. He's destroyed, and he sings horribly and very amusingly at his next gigs. In beat three of this outline, we have a turning point of the main plot. Traditionally occurring at the end of Act 1, a new development arises that raises the story stakes and clearly defines the protagonist's goal, most successful when it sets a man and a woman at a crossroads, at a cross purposes, and their inner emotions at odds with the goal. So Julia is taking a break outside of the event center. Robbie gives her advice on where to get something, and it worked out. It was great. She saved money, got better product. It was wonderful. So she's thanking him. She asks him to help her do the scouting for the rest of the wedding planning and details. He says, no, I don't want to do that. My wedding, it didn't go off, so I really don't feel like it. But she talks him into it. And so they're thrown together, and they have a goal of getting this wedding planned. However, we know that there's an inkling of some attraction there as well. Beat four is the midpoint. We're raising the stakes. A situation that irrevocably binds the protagonist with the antagonist, often while tweaking sexual tensions and further complications for the outcome of the relationship. They do all these appointments together in the movie, and it's hilarious. They feed each other cake. They pretend to be brother and sister when the photographer thinks they're fiance and fiance. They make the limo driver, which is Robbie's friend, do this crazy obstacle course where he has to grab a mannequin and shove it inside of the limo. It bonds them, and it cements that they like each other, but it's in these scenes, these vignettes of their getting to know each other in the meantime. And then finally, after they drop Julia off at her house, the limo driver is dropping Robbie off at his, and they see that she left her sweater in the back. The limo driver sees it in Robbie's eyes that Robbie likes Julia. So then we have beat 5, which is the swivel, the second turning point, traditionally occurring at the end of Act 2. Stakes reach their highest point as the romantic relationship's importance jeopardizes the protagonist's chance to succeed at his or her stated goal, or vice versa, and his or her goal shifts. So Julia's roommate gets Julia and Robbie to kiss. It's that kiss where show me what I think they say, show me what a sweet kiss would be for a church. So they kiss each other to see what church tongue, yes, that's what they say, looks like in a soft kiss. And this kiss is out of the world. It's very, you can just see every emotion go through their faces. And it's clear that Julia and Robbie are falling for each other. But Julia's fiance comes in and ruins the moment. So we have it, we know that they want each other, but boom, it's ripped out in front of us. Julia's roommate gets Julia and Glenn, which is Julia's fiance, to go on a double date with her and Robbie. So Julia's roommate is trying to get Robbie now. Lots of conflict, right? The night goes horribly, and Julia ends up sick because she's trying to hide her feelings by drinking alcohol. There's a sweet moment where Robbie's holding her up while Glenn gets his car, and she says that she puked, and he sniffs her hair and says she smells like strawberries. So we know, and just by them looking in each other's eyes, we know. So when Julia takes the roommate home, or I'm sorry, when Robbie takes the roommate home, he gets propositioned by Julia's roommate at the end of the night. But after he asks about Julia, she can see that he's into her roommate, and they part ways amicably. He decides to tell Julia how he feels. He goes to her house. He sees her in her wedding gown up in the window, and she's acting happy. But little does she know, when we see it on the other side, she's only happy because she's pretending to be Robbie's wife, not Glenn's. So he gets drunk, sees Glenn cheating on Julia, which is awful, and ends up, his ex-fiance shows up to his place. Robbie's ex-fiance shows up to his place and has to help him when he passes out in the lawn. So then we have the dark moment. This is the crisis of the main plot. So wherein the consequences of the swivel decision yield disaster, generally the humiliating scene where private motivations are revealed, and either the relationship or the protagonist's goal is seemingly lost forever. So for this beat in the movie, Julia comes to Robbie's house. And who answers the door but Robbie's ex-fiancée, Linda. And she promises to tell Robbie that Julia was there, but she slams the door in her face. She never does, because when Robbie wakes up, Linda's in his favorite Van Halen t-shirt, and he is freaked out because he knows he loves Julia, not Linda. He decides to be a big shot like Julia's fiance, and then maybe she will love him. He tries to get a job in banking, thinking he needs to be someone else for Julia, but really it's repeating the theme that he's not good enough. He's not good enough. Next day, Julia goes over to Robbie's with some music sheets that she's calligraphied with his name herself for him to write music on, because she knows that's what's in his heart. He shows up and is not nice to her, telling her that she's only marrying Glenn for money. She throws the sheets in his face and races off. She wakes Glenn up and tells him that she wants to elope to Vegas because she's trying to run away from her feelings. And he's all in, unfortunately. In beat 7, joyful defeat happens, a reconciliation that reaffirms the primal importance of the relationship, usually a happy ending that implies marriage or a serious commitment, often at the cost of some personal sacrifice to the protagonist. So we're at Robbie's at a wedding anniversary at the hall. He gave the one of the anniversary people some voice lessons. She's very adorable. She's rapping, actually. It's very cute. And Julia's roommate lets it slip that Julia's on a plane headed to Vegas. He has to go to Vegas and stop her, and we are cheering for him. He gets an idea for a song on the way to the airport, and he writes it down on a napkin. But Robbie gets a first class ticket, and when the flight attendant says there's this guy in coach that's being a real jerk, Robbie looks out, and guess what? It's Glenn, and they're on the same airplane. Robbie pulls out his guitar and serenades Julia with the song about growing old with her and all the things he'll do for her that he knows Glenn won't. Glenn gets thrown in the bathroom by famous musician Billy Idol. By Billy Idol. It's very funny. And then they kiss and solidify their love for each other. The last scene is them getting married and their reception. So there you have it. There's the first outline, and I've broken it down into what happened in this movie, and so you can imagine how you could change it to be for your sweet romance. Up next, we're going to be talking about Jamie Gould's outline and an example for that one. All right, come on back for number 2.